Good morning. Welcome back to Daybreak on this 21st day of February 2021. My name is Sam Gituko and it's now 20 minutes to 7 o'clock and time to talk about the latest in the world of politics. And I want to begin by introducing the panel that is in studio. We have Herman Manyora, political commentator and lecturer at the University of Nairobi. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning to you, Sam.
Great. And we have one Senator Irungu Kangata, the Senator of Murang'a, who wants to be Governor of Murang'a County. Good morning.
Thank you so much.
Do you have a running mate now?
Not yet.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Gladys Boss, woman rep for Uasin Gishu. Good morning. Welcome
Good morning. Thank you.
Where have you been?
Very well, thank you.
Where have you been?
No, I just didn't come to Citizen. That doesn't mean where have I been.
I've missed you in a long time, but welcome back. And Fred Okango is the Secretary of Political Affairs at KANU, but also the spokesperson at One Kenya Alliance. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
So much going on within One Kenya Alliance.
And you're yet to see anything.
They keep threatening and nothing happens.
It's coming.
What do you mean threatening?
They keep saying it's coming, something big is coming every time. So we have been waiting.
This time it's coming.
Yeah.
This time is for real.
I can guarantee you on 25th.
Okay. All right. Let's quickly look at the papers. And on the front page of the Standard, you'll see Uhuru's game plan in succession race, with President expected to make a major announcement at Sagana on Wednesday. I thought the date had been changed to Thursday. Top politicians speak out on how he is maneuvering to place himself at the center of his succession and play a key role after polls. So they are asking the questions. So they are talking about so much that has been said, what BBI was supposed to do, and also the quote by Martha Karua. We've had the Attorney General being quoted saying there's no constitutional obstacle blocking President Kenyatta from being appointed Prime Minister in the subsequent government. That would be illegal. The 10-year term limit was put in place to allow for new leadership. I'm looking at page 7 of the Standard. But back to the front page, you'll see Azimio allies to zone out region, says Raila, that Azimio La Umoja leaders Raila Odinga and Peter Kenneth at a rally at Tononoka grounds in Mombasa yesterday. Raila said Azimio would consider zoning some regions to accommodate constituent parties. He made the remarks amid a push to have One Kenya Alliance join the movement during his unveiling. Then Kalonzo gives terms for talks as Muturi hits out at president. These are the events that took place over the weekend. We'll be talking about some of them later on. Then on the front page of the Daily Nation, why is he still in office? Is the question they're asking about Deputy President William Ruto, who is quoted as saying, I have no space to retreat and do not have the luxury to surrender. So they're talking of a deputy president that they claim has gone rogue. He is at the leader of government business when the president is not available, but scarcely has he led any government agenda lately. And he is the number 2 in the pecking order of the country's leadership. But today he fights his own government from across an imaginary fence. And so much being said about the deputy president. Then Azimio's big catch, Raila, it's the question they're asking, Raila, Kalonzo, inch closer to 2022 poll deal. And so much more in the papers. We'll speak about all these in some order, but I want us first to reflect on today being the 21st of February. It's just about 169 days to the general election, or so to speak, less than 6 months. And of course, so much is going on with the recruitment of members. We know that by 26th of March, that is next month, we should be seeing the political parties concluding what their party membership lists are, so that they can be certified, ready for what is called the party primaries. But Herman Manyora, looking at the political stage at this moment, what do you make of it as we drive? It appears, is it so fast to August 9th?
Yeah, well, we are now in the deep of politics. You don't have to wait for any other signal. You open your eyes and you see it all over. And we can see the game is starting. The game is starting. The major players, Raila has entered the race, the game, perhaps a month or 2 now. Another major player is now warming up. He's putting on his uniform. I think it's number 6, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And it's going to be very interesting. Yeah.
What did you just say? Who's number 6?
Yes, number 6. With Raila number 9, and several defenders and other utility players. So we are seeing a very interesting game coming up. Yes.
And on this other side, we are seeing, for instance, yesterday it was the National Delegates Conference of the Democratic Party endorsing Speaker Justin Muturi for president. Well, you look at the guest list also, it's pretty interesting. And also there has been several NDCs, whether it's NAC or NAC Kenya, then there was Muungano Party. What is this telling you?
The idea is we only have two sides. And in the fullness of time, which is not long from now, all these minor players will align themselves in the right place. I mean, right place to mean those to go to Azimio will be in Azimio. And I think it'll be fair to say almost all these minor players are headed to Azimio. Some are looking for the proper timing. Some are looking for excuses to join Raila. But by and large, all these players, if you see a player after 2 months from now, I mean a month or so from now, who is still not with UDA or ODA or Azimio, you must know it's part of a wider game. For example, if Muturi were to remain a candidate, it will be basically to destabilize William Ruto by harvesting some votes from Mount Kenya East, votes which otherwise would have gone to William Ruto. So all these players are part of a wider scheme and a game, and they will fit in that game in the fullness of time.
You don't think he is in it for any
do
personal conviction?
No. How can Muturi go against Uhuru Kenyatta? Is it possible? Can you believe it? Even the people who went against Moi, they really felt slighted in 2002. You could see there was a reason why people who had been loyal to the president were able to rebel, bringing Uhuru Kenyatta from nowhere. They felt so slighted. And some of the things that were uttered, even by Moi himself, were so touching. So you could understand why people like Kalonzo Musyoka, George Saitoti, Raila Odinga, but mainly those others, even initially, even Ronald Ngala chap, what was it called? Katana Ngala, Musalia Mudavadi. You could see why there was motivation for them going against the patriot. I don't see that can push Muturi to defy Uhuru, his long-term friend and buddy. So I suspect these are just part of the game.
What's your reading, Senator Kang'ata, when you're looking at the race? And of course, it's been a contest largely, even when you look at the campaign framing, it's UDA, I mean, Kenya Kwanza versus Azimio la Umoja. What is it telling you when you see your former speaker, when you were at the National Assembly, throwing his hat into the field?
The speaker said in very clear terms that the president should not in any way be seemed to be pushing the opposition to win the presidency. He said that has no precedent anywhere else in the world. And in a way, I got the impression he is pushing the UDA agenda. And therefore, this race is completely done in favor of UDA. When you see such major politician pushing the narrative in favor of UDA, definitely that tells you we should just wait for the coronation of His Excellency Deputy President William Ruto.
But I thought also he said that he is in it to the end. He can only consider forming coalitions post the election.
Yes, it is okay. Of course, definitely everyone knows he may not garner a lot of votes, but he is doing some damage, and which damage impacts negatively Azimio. Because when you hear such statements from a person who is technically number 3 in the pecking order of this republic, the damage being inflicted is on His Excellency the President and also his so-called preferred project called Raila Odinga. And as to whether campaigns will matter, I tend to disagree. Campaigns will not matter. I belong to the school of thought that Kenyans have decided. And it is based on a theory I read from a book called 13 Keys to White House. It's a book written by Professor Lichmant. Since 1981, that professor has predicted correctly all elections in America. Since 1981, including the upset by Donald Trump. According to him, he argues that voters are not prospective, they are retrospective. Meaning, they are not swayed by the spectacle of a campaign. the glamour, the huge rallies, the polling, no, that does not impact on a voter's decision. He argues the decision is usually done a long way before. And he came up with a 13-point matrix as to what the voters will be looking at, which are usually historical factors like how the economy has performed, the foreign affairs, conduct of the government, such parameters. So if 6 keys, you key them negative, definitely the incumbent will lose, and the vice versa. So when you look at that argument,
right,
and you look at how Kenya is performing, definitely this election is more or less a referendum on how Jubilee government has governed this country for the last 5 years. And from where I see it, definitely it is negative. And therefore, most likely Kenyans will be going to kick out this government. It will not even be really a vote against Raila Odinga. It will be a vote against the incumbent Jubilee government. And therefore, from where I see it, and drawing inspiration from that book and from a very good professor who has predicted all elections since 1981 correctly, definitely Raila Odinga and the state project has lost already.
That is quite interesting because, as you say that from your political analysis, are you just saying that because the president appears to be in favor of Raila Odinga, now Raila Odinga will carry all the burdens and leave out Deputy President who has actually been the principal assistant of the president?
Yes, you see, there is what we call de jure and de facto. De jure means by law, de facto means by fact. By law, definitely, the Deputy President is the principal assistant of the president. But by fact, he is now the leader of the opposition. And therefore, he will be approaching this election as an opposition leader. And Mr. Raila Odinga, he is by law the opposition leader, but by fact, he is the principal assistant of His Excellency the President. And therefore, when you look at how people will be approaching this election, it will be a referendum on the government. And you see, attitudes, political attitudes, they are not formed in one day. You must understand. It's like a person telling you now to abandon your Christianity based on an interaction of 1 or 5 minutes. You can't, because your Christianity has been formed over a very prolonged period of time. The same rationale. Our view about Raila Odinga, about William Ruto, has not and cannot be formed in 6 months or 5 months. That is not true. It is prolonged. It has been embedded. It has been passed over generations.
Okay.
And therefore, we already know what kind of a leader he is. And in short, what I'm telling Kenyans, please continue being entertained by those huge rallies. That is good. It's good for the media, for everyone of us here. But the decision has been made.
Okay.
And from where I see it, is a decision to kick out a state project called Raila Odinga.
I hear you. And we'll talk about that later on because there are several voices that have been said to that effect. But Fred, let me begin with Fred. What do you make of this the spectacular rallies that he says that will mean nothing, but also One Kenya Alliance is still working towards a certain cause? What do you make of all this at such a time as we approach the election?
Thank you, Sam. It's very interesting that Irungu Kang'ata today can talk about rallies that mean nothing, while all along they have been posting photos and saying so and so has decided, such a region has decided because of the big rallies. But having said that, I think this time, this election is not just an ordinary election. This election will determine what Kenyans put on the table. It will determine how we end theft of public money. It will determine how we strengthen this devolution to get those services to the grassroots. But that cannot be done by rhetorics. That cannot be done by people who have been in government and they have failed, by people who have served and they have failed. That election will be determined by fresh minds who, in one way or another, are offering aspects of unity to the people of Kenya, who are coming out boldly to say that we must end corruption and we go for zero tolerance to corruption.
What do you mean, fresh minds? Who?
I am saying,
Who
in
has
this
a fresh
election,
mind in this election?
there are so many.
Who?
There are so many. In Oka coalition,
Who?
we have Gideon Moi, we have Kalonzo
been senators
Musyoka,
since 2013.
we have Martha Karua. And I can tell you without a doubt, that when you look at the way these campaigns are conducted, the campaigns have been modeled in a manner to believe that there are only certain individuals who must be president at the end of the day. That is not going to happen. As we have been saying, we have a volcano. Kenyans must start thinking that, you know, when the deputy president said that economy is melting, Kenyans are asking him, for the 9 years of being in government, you just woke up and realized the economy is melting. And those are the people that I'm saying should not lead this country because they have been there. They are actually the cause of the melt of this economy. Now, for coalitions pacts that we have been seeing, those coalitions are not just a group of people coming together. For us in OCA, we believe, first of all, in the unity of this country. We believe in equity and equality. We believe in zero tolerance to corruption. And that's why we have been categorical that when the right time comes, we shall only coalesce with the people that share in ideology. We shall only work with people in a structured manner which is honest and open.
When is that time coming? We are now 5 months, 19 days to go. And very critical stages in the next 1 month or so.
That's true. And if you look at IBC timelines, we are not time bad. We are within the timelines. But on 25th of this month, we are saying we shall unveil our leadership of the coalition. We shall register our coalition with the Register of Political Parties. And then we shall proceed to witness our potential partners do their thing. After that time, then the games shall begin. The people that have been our detractors, after that, I can guarantee you some, they'll be visionless, they'll be rudderless, they'll be helpless, and they'll be planless.
Excuse me, I'll get back to that. But Honorable Boss,
Yes.
I want to get your feel of, I mean, because we've been in this country for a number of elections, so we've observed some. But at such a point, 5 months, 19 days, with all this activity, small and big or medium-sized political parties are holding their NDCs and making declarations. Conversations are going on. They say that we remain wide open. Our doors are still open. What are you making out of this?
No, I keep watching all the NDCs that are being held with great amusement. The reason being is that we know anybody who has studied voter education will tell you that voters will vote for the person that is familiar to them. When they go and look at the ballot paper, they decide, okay, who's the familiar person, then they'll vote for that person. So having your NDCs is not a campaign. You're not seeking votes in NDCs. And people assume that all Kenyans watch television. No. Actually, most Kenyans listen to radio. So if you keep having MDCs and hoping that that pomp and glamour that you're undertaking in your NDCs, that Kenyans are watching and hence may give you some mileage, really that is not the way to run politics. And we are constantly hearing that
But does it count? Does it
Sorry?
Does it count in any way?
It only counts in the fact that somebody is being endorsed. They are preparing their message. They say they are messaging. This is what we stand for. But the most important thing is that message would still have to be carried to the ground for it to become relevant. So if you are still thinking that you haven't hit every market in Nairobi, in Kenya, then you have a problem. Because the NDC doesn't give you votes. But that's what they've been concerned about. But also, it's because the opponents of William Ruto have a belief that Uhuru Kenyatta will somehow, by some magic, deliver victory to them. And they've been counting and waiting. That's why you don't see them hitting the ground to campaign. They only started it recently, but even then it's very minor. If you look at the number of campaign rallies William Ruto runs against how many they run, they are way, way, way behind. There is no way they can ever match him. And it's because they believed.
They do not matter.
Sorry?
However many they are, he says they do not matter.
No, that is his opinion. I'm telling you my opinion.
Okay.
Yes, and from my own study of how voters think. Voters today, even if you can carry out a poll and ask people will tell you that William Ruto is familiar to them. They know him. Raila, very few people will tell, I mean, the older generation know him. But the younger generation, they've never seen him. Just go to any marketplace and ask, and they can't even remember who Raila Odinga was, because he's riding on his past, the Raila Odinga that was. He's also hoping that Uhuru Kenyatta will help him. And Uhuru Kenyatta actually is the one who's going to control Raila's government. Uhuru Kenyatta wants to remain in power through Raila Odinga. The reason why Raila Odinga doesn't even mention a running mate at the moment, despite working with other party leaders, has not mentioned that any of them will be his running mate.
But none has.
Reason being,
no aspirant has.
No. Remember, William Ruto is running as William Ruto and as UDA, and he's running on the Hustler movement. The kind of format that Raila Odinga is using, his format is to get other big. He wants to run on a coalition, which he did. In 2013, he had the CORD coalition. In 2017, he had the NASA coalition. So that is his format and his formula for winning the elections. And therefore, but this time, he's not saying that we are the big five or we are this. He's actually waiting for Uhuru Kenyatta to tell him who should be his running mate. Okay,
Honorable Boss, hold it there. We'll talk about that because, again, as a matter of fact, no presidential aspirant or hopeful has indicated who their running mate will be, including gubernatorial aspirants like one here, Senator Kangata. So there must be considerations that they are going through. But we'll take a short break here. When we come back, we'll speak about the theater of politics, of what has become. We've seen the Deputy President saying that he cannot be, the credit of the Jubilee Party or Jubilee administration cannot be taken away from him. Raila Odinga is saying that he is not a project of anyone, but we're also seeing we saw some developments in Tharaka Nithi, which I'll be telling you about shortly after the break.